All right, now we're off you. Good morning, everybody. Go ahead and call this fast planning meeting to order for July 15th. Why don't we go ahead and do a quick roll call? Fox, can you run us through the room?
Yes, Mayor Hopkins.
Yeah.
Mr. Kratz. Hello. Mayor Church.
Yes.
Ms. Little.
Present.
And online, Mr. Zarnecki.
Sorry, this is probably me problem. I think I need to promote folks to
And
panel.
Nick, we're gonna promote you to panelist so that you can speak.
Congratulations.
Yes, and then Corey, sorry, Olivia chiming in. If you just right click on everybody else that's not a panelist who has like a valid username or something that's interpretable and doesn't seem like a Zoom bomber, you can right click on it and then tell them that they can have microphone privileges.
Just thinking of panelists. Does that work?
Yeah,
And
that
this
works.
is Nick Zarnecki. I can unmute and speak now.
Wonderful. Okay, and then I understand that Ms. Tidwell is excused today. And at this time, I do not see Mayor O'Neill.
All right. We have a quorum. That's a good thing to do. Let's go ahead and do the introduction of guests. Can we start over here and work our way down?
John Natardis, DOT design.
Brett Nelson, DOT planning.
Gabrielle Larry, unsettled.
Very much. And then online, with attendees, who do we have? I guess, yeah, we got Randy Bailey. You want to introduce yourself, Randy?
Yes, Randy Bailey, DOT planning.
And you, and then, Mr. Beck,
Al Beck, DOT design.
Mr. Callaghan.
Don Galligan, Fairbanks North Star Borough.
Outstanding. And then attendees on the other tab.
I think I
They're all migrated over.
All right, sounds good.
upgraded.
That's all of us. Outstanding. So let's go ahead and approve the agenda for today's meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second. All right, moved by Ms. Little, seconded by Mr. Kraft. Any amendments we'd like to make or discussion? All right, seeing none. Let's go ahead and take a roll call and get that passed.
Yes, Mayor Hopkins.
Yes.
Mr. Kratz.
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes.
Ms. Little.
Yes.
And Mr. Zarnecki.
Yes.
All right. 6-0, good roll. Next up, the meeting minutes from the last meeting of June 17th. Do I have a motion to move those?
So moved. Second.
All right, moved by Mr. Kraft, seconded by Mayor Church. Any comments or amendments? Seeing none, go ahead and get a roll call.
Ms. Little.
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes.
Mr. Kratz. Yes. Mayor Hopkins.
Yes.
Mr. Zarnecki.
Yes.
All right, with that, we have 6-0 voting then. Moving on from the minutes of last meeting. With that, we will quickly move on to the staff working group and chair report. Mr. Fox, take it away.
Yeah, thank you. This begins on page 10 in the packet. Just a few items I want to highlight for you for activities over the past month. First one of which is fast planning. We hosted the statewide quarterly MPO coordination meeting here in Fairbanks. It was very well attended. Our fellow MPOs down in Anchorage and Matsu, not just their directors flew up for it, but all of their staff did. So we could all sit here in the same room together and meet and greet each other. The other Olivia and Corey's of the world of Anchorage and Matsu. And introduce ourselves, hang out for the day, and share our different work tasks and responsibilities and initiatives that we're working on. Also present was Federal Highways, the division administrator, the deputy division administrator, and a few DOT planning folks and MPO coordinators for each of the regions. So it was a pretty light all-day meeting, talking about what we're working on and the status of our next tip and how we're approaching that. We're all concurrently working on updates to our metropolitan transportation plans or our MTPs, or long-range transportation plans. And so just kind of sharing where everybody's at on schedule and how we're approaching those tasks and doing those updates. And then the second day for that, a few folks hung around and we did some site visits throughout the downtown core of some projects that were built with funds through fast planning, and other projects that are either in design or that are illustrative, like Barnett Street, that we hope to fund in the near future to get under design. And just to talk about some of the ideas around some changes for downtown and some good and bad stories with different projects that we've had out there. Moving on underneath project and planning meetings, we did hold a second subcommittee meeting for the Fast Improvement Program to select project locations for construction in 2027 and 2028. That is an action item for you here today on item 8A. But just a note that we did hold 2 subcommittee meetings on this list. Everybody at the table, every agency seems to be getting a slice of the pie and seems to be pretty happy with their project list. We did run that project list through the technical committee earlier this month, following those 2 subcommittee meetings, and they unanimously recommended approval of that list here today. But that is up for discussion. Also want to note, I've had a few one-on-one meetings with Matsu MPO staff on development of their new Transportation Improvement Program, or their TIP. Though they've been an MPO for a couple of years now, they are now developing their first ever TIP. And I've put together a new TIP template for us to use moving forward for our next one for 2027 through 2030. They had written a policy and procedure for their TIP. I concurrently wrote a brand new policy and procedure for our TIP, which I presented to the technical committee earlier this month for feedback. I did get some good comments from Don Galligan with the borough on that. But you can anticipate seeing those documents next month, and I will be asking the policy board to replace our current approved policy and procedure for our TIP with the new version that I have drafted. So, but again, been working in tandem with Matsu MPO because they're doing this all for the first time down there. And I have a bit of experience and some adjustments I'd like to see in our policies. Also want to note, tip amendment number 3 is out for public comment right now, which includes the 5th Avenue park improvements out in North Pole. So I did meet with Borough Parks and Rec staff to look at their consultants' 35% design for that. What we're trying to fund is the access road, parking area, and path improvements throughout the park, while the borough's CIP, capital improvement program, will pay for the playground equipment and other appurtenances out there. So the 2 separate efforts here. I was able to get those drawings over to DOT planning, and so that there was something that they could work from to begin preparing an SSE or scope schedule and estimate for that work, so that we can insert that into the TIP, either during the public comment period or after, so that you can see how much fast planning might be contributing to that project. Also want to make note, we did have an interagency consultation meeting on our long-range transportation plan, transportation conformity checklist on Monday. So this is with our consultant team that works with us on air quality, our consultant team that works on our travel demand modeling update. It's with our federal partners, and we're running through all the assumptions and our methodology on updating our model for different base years. So that was a really good meeting, and we have green light to move forward with that air quality conformity analysis, and our consultant working on the travel demand model is running them this week. So those get transferred over to the air quality consultant so they can do their work. But we're on a really good schedule for that, to have that wrapped up by the end of August. Okay, next page. Getting into some more fun stuff. We did host a free bike valet event at the Midnight Sun Festival last month. It was just under 200 bikes that were parked there throughout the event. We did it a little bit different this year. In previous years, we held the bike valet in the parking garage. But for this year's event, we held it at the starter block in the ice rink. So we took over half the ice rink there to park bikes, and then the other half of the ice rink was an outdoor beer garden that the tap house had up. And then Girls Who Weld in North Pole, we held a luncheon with them last month as well, and to thank them all for their work on welding up bike racks for the North Pole area. And Corey is adamantly at work identifying property owners in which they can be installed at. So, but those bike racks are complete. So we are in deployment mode now for North Pole. And then next, we held our paint day on Tranagate Road and F Street intersection on Saturday. And I can say that I'm still a little bit sore from doing street yoga all day out there, but I'm recovering. But But yeah, Corey's gonna kind of run through a little bit of the photo album. We started painting around 11 a.m. and wrapped up around 6 p.m. Throughout the day, I think we had about 30 volunteers kind of show up sporadically to paint for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Really want to thank Sue Sprinkle on the council. She was out there nearly the whole day with us. And Mayor O'Neill painted with us in our final hour as we wrapped. But it was a really great event. Everybody was safe. There was no incidents, other than traffic still not slowing down, but we had traffic control devices out and traffic control flaggers. So I do want to thank the city of Fairbanks for doing the traffic control plan and providing staff on a Saturday to make sure that we were all safe out there doing this painting project. Yeah, now Corey's getting into some of the drone photos.
You guys were able to fly a drone that close to, wow.
Did you have to keep it below a level?
There's a maximum ceiling of 400 feet above
Oh, even that
ground
close?
level. Yeah. There's a pre-authorization like program now that's really fast, takes less than 30 seconds, so it can be done really easily. I mean, the airspace doesn't start until, half a mile down the road or whatever. So yeah, so this area is clearable for traffic. Yeah, drone flights.
So just want to make note so there's no surprises here. I would like to do another one of these next year, and try to pick a location that has a proposed roundabout so that we could potentially paint a circle mural in the middle and put up these flexi posts around the outside so that people can experience what a roundabout might look like. These types of projects this is supposed to demonstrate a curb extension, kind of narrow up the road, introduce some friction, shorten the crossing distance for students to and from the school. And this is temporary and it's an idea and people can drive through it and experience it. We received a lot of positive feedback. We've received a lot of negative feedback. So, but that's how these conversations can start about some proposed changes before we invest millions of dollars of federal funds into something to kind of pilot it out so that folks can experience it before we proceed with the investment. But I think the next quick build we do, perhaps next summer, it would be fun to paint around about it, even with all the pork chop islands and whatnot, and so people could drive it, say that they like it or don't like it, and that's helpful for our process.
What is a pork chop island?
Oh, you want to zoom into a roundabout? Any roundabout?
University
It's just like the
Avenue
medians.
and, Johansson, where you've got that free ride.
Gotcha, okay,
Pork chop.
followed it, okay, I'm good.
The red concrete, yeah, little triangles.
Yep.
So
It looks like a pork chop.
Yep, that makes sense. I
anyways,
figured it would.
months of planning, but very successful execution in a single day.
Oh, one on the right side. Okay,
Yeah. It's these mountable areas.
gotcha.
Yep. All right, back to staff report real quick, just a couple items. Just want to remind you all that our draft Unified Planning Program is still out for public comment, so is tip amendment number 3. Those comment periods are running concurrently. They began on June 21st and they end on July 24th. To date, as of today, we've not received any comments on either plan out for public comment, but usually the comments we receive are in the last couple days before the comment period ends. So we will be bringing those forward to you at your August meeting for approval, and any comments we receive will have a comment resolution matrix showing what the comment was and how we resolved it or made a revision, corresponding revision to the document or not. And then lastly, underneath funding, I did make the rounds with all the DOT project managers working on fast planning area projects to check on funding obligations for this federal fiscal year, because our obligations are so low, still only around 25% at this time. And based on all my conversations with each of the DOT project managers, I got myself a list of adjustments, things that like probably not going to make this year. Let's move it out to 27. And other things where cost estimates for construction recently here went up or down. Some actually did go down. And so I pulled all those together for one final tip administrative modification for this federal fiscal year. And that's on your agenda today for your approval. Page 12 is our action items. And page 13, action items from the technical committee, which relate to the fast improvement program and tip administrative modification number 9. And then page 13 just shows you again, the comment periods for our two plans that are open out for public comment at this time. That concludes my report.
Very much. Any questions that I haven't already interrupted with for the staff report? All right, seeing none, thank you very much. With that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the public comment period. If you have any comments from the public, feel free to step on up. You can sit at the table, you can stand back there. And you have, I believe it is 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
5
can
minutes.
fire away at you for 5 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yes, you may.
All right, there's a lot of things going on. I really appreciate everyone. I'm Gabrielle Larry. People refer to me as Gabby, but, with the Alaska Fund Center, today representing a little bit of College Road history. My husband grew up on College Road when it was a dirt road, lived there for all his life, built the cabin that his dad was a carpenter, so they built a cabin there. So he knows a lot about College Road. I've been around the College Road area since I was 14, and I'm way past most of you guys' history on that road. But I heard a little bit just from the paper with a soundbite about proposing back to a 3-lane. We went around this, years ago when Luke's dad was mayor, and it was proposed then. And there's nothing that has changed in our determination. And and I speak of the merchants of College Road and those of us that live near or on or use that road, that we would ever want to see that changed to a 3-lane road. And there's a lot of backup to what I say, because there's a lot of people in the neighborhoods. I live in Aurora, right off of College Road as well. I saw the upgrades finally done to Aurora Drive for the bridge, and that took some years. I've seen College Road impacted off and on, doing highway upgrades, sidewalk upgrades, which were definitely needed, especially on our side of the road, because there wasn't a sidewalk. I watch the flow of traffic daily. I watch bicyclists. I watch some pedestrians. It's not used as much as a bicycle route as I've seen in other areas of the world or in the countries that I've visited. It's just, there's the bicycle groups and look, there's finally a family on College Road and they're using the path or this or that. But it's not a highly used bicycle route. There are bicycles out there, but the main users of that road are vehicles, right? So whatever reason that someone has discussed this in the past, maybe it's speed, maybe it's something else. Well, there's very, very few troopers or police officers that I frequently use the road every day, 5-6 times running up and down. I very rarely see any law enforcement on that road, very rarely. So I think law enforcement would be one step in the right direction. When I was a kid and I was 16, I got my first ticket on College Road. That did slow me down. But if you don't use the roads, and that could be Johansson, for example. I'm coming back off of Johansson one evening, and I hate merging because people are so detriment to race around you. They won't let you through. They want you to do what? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Stop and let you go around me at 80 miles an hour. So people need to be adjusted to the traffic, and I think law enforcement is the way to do it. You don't get a ticket, you're not going to realize the consequences. But College Road has a good flow to it, a lot of users. The fairgrounds is right across the street from us. Over the weekend, it was a very busy impact. We have a lot of rodeos, we have a lot of music festivals going on over there. There are fairs coming up, and the traffic would just come to a standstill. And we are at a dangerous corner to begin with. We have a lot of motorcyclists coming up and down that road for business purposes, not just to mention they like to use the road. It would be very dangerous to turn it into a 3-lane. Winter months, you would have to encounter traffic that would be backed up because literally it's a 3-lane anyway in the winter because of the way the snow conditions are. I mean, I can go on and on. We just need to sit down and have a conversation about this, but I'm impacted would be very strongly impacted because I'm on the corner. Our driveway's near the corner, and then we have access points. The fairgrounds is right here. They have their access point right at the intersection. But we would all be very well come to a standstill. And you'd see more traffic hazards, more traffic accidents. And I've been on that road traveling in and out of the same driveway for years and years and years. And bicyclists have as much responsibility as automobiles. as far as, watching for traffic. Whether you're on a bike or on a walking, you still have to watch for traffic. That was how I was brought up, okay? Whether I'm on my bike, going the other direction, still responsibilities. Everybody has their responsibilities. Nobody wants to see an impact. Nobody wants to see any casualty on that road. And I would honestly say this winter, I was surprised. Their drivers were doing great. I didn't have a incident right on the corner. Usually there was just 3 or 4. I was surprised that how well everyone did. And, you guys can, we can discuss this, but I can tell you there's a lot of pushback to this, a lot of pushback. And I'm just one person. The big deal is nobody knows about it. Nobody on College Road knows because nobody reads the paper. The paper is like obsolete anymore. And, nobody knows. When I bring the topic up to people, oh, we didn't know this, we didn't know this. So there's, a lot of people that would be they're totally not engaged because they don't know. But once they're engaged, they would come out and speak just like I am against this proposal, okay? So that's literally why I'm here. We're gonna have a lot of pushback against this proposal. I don't know why it was proposed or who proposed it or what happened. I don't know. Where it's in the tip, I don't know. I don't know where it came from. But we dealt with this 14 years ago. And it was not just one person that came out. This whole room was packed. A lot of businesses, owners came out, a lot of individuals, so.
All right, well, thank you very much, Gabby. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Little.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify a couple of really important things. This project came out of the Highway Safety Improvement Program training, so this is a high crash area, not specific to vehicular crashes, severe crashes, both motorized and non-motorized. So that's where the project idea came from. It's not a project start yet. It is simply, before we knew both this and we're also, what came out of the HSIP screening was roundabouts on Badger Road. I recognize both of those are big changes for those roads and those communities. And so we wanted to understand Fast Policy Board's perspective on it before we even began public involvement. So there's a whole public involvement period before we even would put forward a project to start. So these are not funded transportation projects yet. They're simply numerical solutions to the crash patterns we're seeing out there. So we do have project managers assigned, and we are working on our public involvement strategy before these projects even become projects. So there will be time to talk about projects, there'll be public notices, all of that stuff before they even were to become projects. They are not projects at this time.
I see that. Yeah, there's no project, but again, this is the community's feel on this road, okay? So you put your efforts into something like this, or I feel like there's a lot more to put effort in, if we College Road merchants and those of us that live on the road just got whim of it because it was in the paper. So, and now this is where we start. We don't start now to express ourselves. I think by the time you make it a project, it's a little too late. And so I will just generally, wanted to be involved, but I think the community needs to be notified. Of course, before this goes to a project, I think you'll be impressed by the number of people who come out against it and maybe come up with some other solution. Because if they're looking for a way to reduce the crashes, I honestly think, again, it's law enforcement. And law enforcement has not been traversing that road. I traverse it all the time from one end to the other, and there isn't anyone there. I have a trooper that lives next to me, but he can probably vouch for what I'm saying as well. So, but thank you all.
Any other questions? I'll just say, I thank you for coming in. I'm still trying to figure out my thoughts on it as well. The public public comment, the public open houses that will be held before anything happened, that would be really interesting, and I'll certainly be there, and I bet most of us will be as well, considering the input and the votes 12, 14 years ago. So thank you for that.
Yes.
The last time I got stopped was on College Road.
Oh, were
So,
you?
yes.
Were you 16?
No, it was last year.
Okay. Okay, yeah, and we just need people, in certain areas and in any condition. I can hear the traffic from my house, literally on College Road from where I live. So I hear the traffic when it's expedient, or I know the vehicles, by their muffler sounds literally, and there are those that should slow down. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Certainly, thank you so much.
Mhm.
All right, is there any other public comment that we have from anybody online? You can. All right, looks like none, so we're gonna go ahead and close out public comment for today. I want to go ahead and note that we were joined by Mayor O'Neill at about 12:15 in the PM. Welcome aboard, Mayor O'Neill. So with that, we're gonna go to item number 7. And which is old business, and this joyous item is on page 14 of your packet under old business. Fox, give us an update.
Just happy to announce we have an approved boundary. And it makes my job a lot easier having that. Moving forward, all of our transportation plans utilizing it, so thank you to DOT for approving our boundary and getting this signed for us. And as far as I'm concerned, we're all set. We don't need anything else to move forward.
All right, thank you. Any comments or anything beyond that? Mr. Krause?
Do you have any champagne?
No, we don't go out to the tap house.
I signed a policy about that.
Yes, champagne. It was a policy in favor of champagne for yeah. I'll go ahead and just say also thank you to DOT for getting it over there. Thank you, Ms. O'Neill or Ms. Little, sorry. And thanks to the governor for getting that signed and not passing it on to the next governor. I think that's a plus for all of us. So check that off of our to-do list. Check. All right, on to item number 8, new business. The federal fiscal year 27-28 Fast Improvement Program, project selection on page 15 through 17. This is a consideration of approval of project selections. Mr. Fox, take it away.
Yeah, so page 15 shows you the outcome of our 2 subcommittee meetings with all our member agencies as to what project locations they wanted funded underneath the Fast Improvement Program for the next couple summers. The Fast Improvement Program, these are projects that are simple mill and paves, road resurfacing, sidewalk repairs, projects that are very simple to design, generally don't require any survey work, no relocation of utilities, no right-of-way acquisition. And based on the direction from the technical committee previously or during the middle of this process, they wanted to see a $2 million program per year. So we did open up the nomination period to try to hit that value. As you can see, there's something in here kind of for everybody, for the city of Fairbanks, North Pole, the borough, various different departments. I was really happy to see that the borough school district participated in our last couple of meetings and actually had a couple nominations for us to throw in the mix. UAF, and of course DOT, they have a very long list of resurfacing needs, but we were able to pick a couple out that benefit the Birch Hill Rec area and a residential area off of Yankovich there. So for each year, we're a little bit over 2 million. We did check the box here, what's kind of a road project versus a non-motorized or a path or sidewalk project. Our policy says we should be shooting for an 80-20 split. In my mind, it's kind of a minimum 20% investment in non-motorized facilities. So it's a little bit higher. We're into the 30+% range on non-motorized facilities. But if you do ever attend one of these subcommittee meetings, it's there's a lot of agreement and sharing in the room. It's a very cooperative process. And so I believe I can say out loud that I think each member agency is happy with their list. We still do have a placeholder there for the city of North Pole. But this will give, if approved here today, this list will give John Tardis, the DOT project manager, the green light to move forward on initiating the preliminary engineering and environmental document to advance all these. But also the way we've set this up is that we're giving John some flexibility that, if he runs into a hiccup with one of these in 27, he can move something from 28 into 27. So we are trying to get this list approved for both years. With the understanding that we are going to be developing a brand new tip for 27 to 2030. We don't know what the funding needs are going to be in 28. So if we get into a pinch point where, a lot of our money is spent in 28, we can reduce that value of 2 million down to some other number, or maybe it goes up to a much larger number. But those can all be future decisions for the technical committee and policy board. Just want to note the other attachments here in the packet. Page 16 shows you the kind of working draft. There were far more nominations than what you see on the outcome sheet. The ones there in red were eliminated for one reason or another. Corey, if you can go to the next page real quick. Some of these are due to cost. Some of these are due to the scope of the project that requires more design activities or permitting, you know, for a slough crossing, things of that nature. So each member agency did give us a really great list and we had to whittle it down. But yeah, the outcome is on page 15. Okay. And I'll conclude there, but I'm happy to answer questions about this, but I'm also glad that John Tardis, DOT project manager that runs this program, is here and help answer questions as well if you have it.
All right, thank you so much. Exciting project on there. Questions, comments? All right, with that, we're gonna go ahead and open up for public comment. Any public comments on these? All right, seeing none, close public comment. Do I have a motion to move forward so we can discuss it?
Move to approve the subcommittee recommendations.
Moved by Kraft,
Second.
second by Church. Discussion, Mr. Kraft.
Yeah, I really appreciate the work that was done on this. I think they did a good job kind of splitting the baby on this. It's a difficult process, but seems like a fairly equitable split, and a lot of really important projects to move forward on here. Yeah, I don't have any big edits that I want to see on this, so it's good to me.
Anybody else? So on the page 15, the gray on there is placeholders. If they're to make available if the funding comes available.
Yeah, let me explain each one of those individually. So these are kind of like late nominations in our process for which DOT has not done a site visit. Well, they did do a site visit on one of them. And prepared any estimates for us. For the city of North Pole in particular, Andrea Drive was on there for, I think it was a gravel to pavement project, but what we learned through Mayor Church is that there might be an ice lens under the road where it's sinking, and it would be a good candidate to pave because he keeps filling dump truck after dump truck in the hole. So we wanted to afford the opportunity for the city of North Pole to replace that Andrea Drive nomination with another road project. So at this time, it's a placeholder until we hear back from Mayor Church. And then underneath the Fairbanks North Star Borough, we had a couple nominations at our last subcommittee meeting for the school district. Right above the gray is the Ann Ween Randy Smith Schools paths, mill and pave. These are the paths behind the schools that connect into the Aurora subdivision. So to refresh the asphalt on those for those important connections to the neighborhood. And then a really simple one, the Tixock Brown School to repave their driveway apron. So a low cost project out there. Then this last one is a little bit different. Not sure what we will actually do with this, but the North Pole Transfer Site Road. Ron Davis with DOT M&O indicated the pavement's in really poor condition, but it's not the street that he maintains. I don't believe it's a street that the city of North Pole maintains either. I believe it is actually a borough road that I don't know if it's maintained by your solid waste department or
It would have to be like within the.
it's not in a road service area.
No.
Like it's, so anyways, so
Is it like the driveway?
half a mile.
Oh, so it's a decent road.
Yeah. It may be an expensive project and this wasn't nominated to us by the right of way owner. So it's on the list. Everybody thinks it's a good idea, but you know, also like, so who pays the match on that? It's, you know, a borough without road powers, maybe the solid waste departments, it's a connection to the facility. We gotta look into that one a little bit more, but everybody agreed it was still a good project if we can pull it off. So that explains the gray ones. We just don't have numbers yet.
Okay, reaching out to my public works and solid waste department to see where their responsibilities start and end. I know we have a contractor that repaves potholes and things like that in our solid waste transfer sites and the entrances to them, but that's, you know, the 15 feet from the road for the most part that I can think of. So they might have an answer, otherwise it's an orphan road and who knows. But on that note, we have a lot of those. Speaking of orphan roads and opportunities for road service areas, with the boundary expansion that was just signed, would that open up new road service areas that could be considered within this plan?
Yes, so we're taking in more of Farmers Loop Road, so there's multiple road service areas that are now eligible to apply for funding through this program. And I've been working with one off of Summit Drive. Their commissioners have been talking with me over the past year and they've been waiting for this boundary to get approved. We can't do all of Summit Drive, but we can do it all the way up to the edge of our boundary.
So that includes, so there's some really bad spots, that are gonna be impeding emergency access soon on, I wanna say Senate, off Summit.
Okay.
This is the one I was thinking of, that's.
Yeah, I mean,
It's towards a specific spot.
That's a big sinkhole.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some other needs that that road service area has for Summit Drive as well, like pushing the mailboxes back from the edge of the road. So as I'm looking at the scope that they're describing to me, it could be a standalone project in the tip, and maybe not part of the fast improvement program. But I am working with them to identify what they're requesting. Yes.
Jackson, if there's something where we can get some economy of scale and keep going.
Yeah.
State money, just make sure you coordinate that with Randy and.
Yep.
You know, I think. We're probably not talking billions and millions. I'm sure we can find a way to get something concrete.
Can I ask you, John? I talked to you about this last summer when they initially contacted me. Did you do a site visit with some of the commissioners?
I did a site visit, not with the commissioner.
Okay. All right, so maybe you and I can talk offline.
Okay.
Later on about that and see what you think about that.
Excellent, and I'm pretty sure our, rural services has a number of range projects to see what's out there. Not that there's a bunch of funding, but if there's a standalone.
Yeah, this round, the only ones they gave us was 3 roads in the College Road service area for gravel pavement. Okay, the one thing about the College Road service area is they have money to pay the match.
Yeah.
A lot of road service areas don't. But the folks in Summit Drive have been saving money so they can get Summit Drive done. So they're financially, they're positioning themselves to be able to access this program.
And they just raised their mill rate too.
So conversations are happening.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mayor Church.
I would like to suggest, if this is an appropriate time, a new nomination for the city of North Pole to fill that placeholder for Andrea Road on a mill and pave from behind Hotel North Pole where that access road comes out all the way down to Parkway. We have done numerous patches in that area. But that portion of road where state maintenance ends and city maintenance picks up is very much in need of some assistance there.
Do you want to make that an amendment?
Sure.
Make a motion.
Ready to make a motion?
Please.
Thank you. Sorry, I was watching Corey. Motion to do what? You want to restate your motion so Ms. Todd can get it?
Mill and repave the Fennell Road behind Hotel
Fennell?
North Pole,
Fennell, FINNEL.
down to Parkway.
Now road down to the
Parkway.
hotel.
Hotel North Pole to Parkway.
I'm sorry, Crossway.
Crossway, not Parkway. Okay. Crossway. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Little. All right.
We
Thank you
have
very
an
much.
amendment to the motion.
Yes,
right?
thank you. That's an amendment to the motion. So we have the amendment on the table. Mr. Church, you want to talk to it?
That section of road, we patched, repaved, filled in, dealt with. It is, a much traveled access to get into the new Ford subdivision as people come off the roundabouts, either down Crossway or Parkway to access the new Ford subdivision, where brand new houses are being built back in First Avenue there.
All right. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Chris?
Is there any estimate of what the funding would look like for this project? I guess that's we don't have a lot of context as far as how this would fit into the fiscal portion of this.
Corey, could you get an estimate of the length of that off? Your tool there,
Yeah, where does it begin?
Hotel North Pole.
Right behind Hotel North Pole, right there.
Right here.
Yep.
Distance.
1,000 feet.
For 1,000 feet, that's a quarter or a fifth of a mile, be $250,000. or less, 200, let's just put 250. Off the top of my head, back of the envelope.
Yeah, we're gonna hold to it.
Yeah, right.
All right. Thank you for that. So we've got no more comments on that. Why don't we go ahead and take a roll call to approve the amendment to the motion and the motion was to mill and pave Fennell Road from behind Hotel North Pole, at that intersection down to Crossway. We can go ahead and have a roll call.
Mayor Church,
Yes.
Mr. Kress,
No.
Mayor Hopkins.
Yes.
Ms. Little,
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Zarnecki,
Yes.
All right, with that, we have 6-1. Is that right?
yes.
Yeah, 6-1. No, that makes sense. 5-1.
5-1.
Thank you very much for allowing me to count that a couple times, and that amendment to the motion passes. We're back to the main motion.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I'd like to change my vote.
Okay, change the vote. We now have a 6-0 vote. And Mr. Krass turned his from a no to a yes. So, with that, we're back to the main motion. Any other comments or questions?
I'll just chime in. I do appreciate that you guys allow Alaska DOT, to participate in this program. You don't have to, and we appreciate the teamwork there.
Thank you.
The percent shares on here would be the local match. So for example, the 59% that goes to 10 Lakes Recreation Area, Loop Trail, gravel and pavement would be, the borough would pay 59% and no, the opposite.
No, the share of funding that, so that percent is, how big of a slice of the pie is each member agency getting?
Oh, okay.
So, in 27, with these calculations, the borough across various departments is getting 60% of the pie. For the program. So, and this fluctuates each year, like we're not trying to do 20, 20, 20, 20 for everybody. Sometimes we have a large project in a road service area that takes up 2 million in itself. And like 80% of the program goes to one road service area. And then the next year we try to like, how about you don't nominate anything for the next year and we give the whole pie to the other member agencies. So it's all very open discussion about who gets what share.
Thank you.
And it changes it year to year, just like 27 and 28 are very different from each other.
I want to say, I was not personally a part of many of these. I think I had some discussions with some of my staff, if I remember correctly, but a lot of these are going to be some really nice quality of life improvements, especially the 10 on Lakes One, the Lions Sub Rec area, the South Davis Park. Those are going to be really nice for improvements to people's lives. The paved area of 10 on Lakes has been huge improvements. So seeing the rest of those go in is going to be really nice. So as well as the paths. Thank you guys, and looking forward to that. Now I have to figure out how to slow people down on them, as opposed to just the whiteboard that does a good job of it. All right, can we go ahead and have a roll call?
Yes. Mayor Hopkins.
Yes.
Mr. Krass.
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes.
Ms. Little.
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill.
Yes.
And Mr. Zarnek.
Yes.
All right, with that, we have a 6-0 vote for that action item, and we are good to go with the approved selection or projects for the fast improvement plan for federal fiscal year 27-28. Next up, under new business 8B, federal fiscal year TIP administrative modification number 9 for a consideration of approval of administrative modification for minor changes to multiple projects. Mr. Fox, take it away.
Yeah, Corey, if you can go to page 18. I'll run through the summary of the project changes here for you all, and then if you'd like to see additional information, we'll actually go to that page in the tip. But again, TIP administrative modification number 9 is a result of me doing the rounds with all the DOT project managers that are working on fast planning area projects. Because I was concerned about some projects not making obligations for 2026. And so this gave me the insight I needed to do a final administrative modification to our funding plan before this federal fiscal year end. So here's what I got from the project managers, for Chena Riverwalk, they would like to move the right-of-way phase from 2026 to 2027. They're still wrapping up paperwork, so to speak.
Environmental reeval, yeah.
Yep. The environmental reeval for that project before they can proceed with the acquisition. So it's just taking them a little bit longer. They're not going to make the deadline for an obligation this year. Couple other projects here, Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center. The latest construction estimate went up from 510,000 to 735,000. But they also determined that did not need the utility phase, so that saved us 80,000. And then Chena Lake Recreation Area Bike and Pedestrian Access via Plaque Road. We had a placeholder for utilities phase that was not needed, so that's been deleted. For the Fast ADA Improvements Program, this has multiple project locations, and based on the readiness, this was really just a project shuffle between years for different locations to go out to bid. Some actually that were scheduled for 27 were accelerated to 26, and some that were in 26 were delayed to 27. And then there was a new estimate that raised the cost for the program across 2 years by about 1.5 million. And then the Fast Improvement Program, we updated those construction phase amounts to reflect $2 million per year investment. And then Parks Highway Sheep Creek Extension traffic signal increased the construction phase estimate from 9.5 million up to 10.2 based on the latest estimate from DOT. Similarly for Pioneer Park or parking lot and boat launch, new estimate from DOT for the design phase, a slight increase of an additional $25,000 to get them through. And then the Sheep Creek Road Extension shared use path, the original estimate was 650,000 for that project, but it's been cut in half. They think they only need 350,000 for the path out there, so that's gone down. Let's see. Then Parks Highway milepost 355 resurfacing, that estimate went up by about 500,000, up from 2.8 million up to 3.3 million. And then Yankovich Miller Hill road reconstruction. Our latest change order on that job was an additional 232,000 for that, and I did have sufficient offset funds to cover it, and that has been approved. So there's no delay in the schedule for that project. And this is an interesting one because it is not just for additional time and materials work and overruns. This does kind of get into when this job was bid, it was last year, and when it was started was last year, and now gas prices are much higher. And so, as I understand on the change order, there was a negotiation for some assistance to offset some of the oil costs. And again, behind this in the tip document, if you want to talk about any one of those individual projects in more detail, we can flip to that page, but that's my introduction of the final changes to the federal fiscal year 26.
Thank you. Mr. Fox, any questions for staff? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and we have a motion so we can talk about it.
Motion to approve, tip amendment number 9.
All right, moved by Kraft, seconded by Church. All right, with that, you guys want to talk to it or have any questions from the motioner or the seconder? I think my question, back to number 1 on the Chena Riverwalk Stage 3, is that delaying the purchase of the right of way from the railroad that we discussed, or did I misunderstand that?
That's my understanding. I think the environmental document needs to get
Yeah.
evaluated.
Correct. Before we can turn on the next authority to proceed from federal highways, we have to have an updated environmental document. We have been in touch with the railroad. There's no conversations about values changing or anything like that. It's just, we have to check those boxes for the federal AT before we can actually go complete that acquisition with the railroad.
Okay.
So it's just a delay, time, not changing, the agreements or anything like that.
We expect it to probably hopefully be done by next summer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Anybody have any other question? I guess my other question, looking at some of these increases, are they also due to, as far as we know, the price of oil comes to repaving for asphalt and that, or there's construction irregular?
I don't know the answer to that question. My guess would be is, again, some of these we had a construction estimate that's 2 or 3 years old. And they're getting to the final design stage to get these things out of bid, and, you know, they have a brand new estimate based on current bid price units, and, so I'm not really concerned with, the increase. It's just we have a new fresh estimate.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
a
we-
little close to reality.
We have, you know, some things we have seen some escalation on, but for the most part, it hasn't been like it was post-COVID. Not nowhere near that magnitude. In fact, we're having bids come in below engineers as well on stuff with like major structural steel in it and, so we're nothing of alarm from our perspective as well.
We had that vote a couple months back, where it was like a 20% increase in the project because of the oil, so I was just wondering if it was that, but good to know it's not. All right. Any other questions, comments? Yeah, Mr. Mayor Church.
Just a point of order, did we take public comment on this?
No, we did. Thanks. I took my guide off the screen, so, yeah, that's what
It's always the help.
It is, it's, no. It's just this one, I need the help. Do we have any public comment on this, action item? Seeing none, go ahead and close it. Thank you, Mayor Church. So with that, can we go ahead and take a vote, on action at 8B, for consideration of approval. So this would be approving the administrative modification for minor changes to, tip number 9.
Mr. Kraus,
Yes.
Mayor Hopkins,
Yes.
Ms. Little,
Yes.
Mayor Church,
Yes.
Mayor O'Neill,
Yes.
and Mr. Zarnicki.
Yes.
All right. With that, it's a 6-0 passage. Thank you very much for 8B. And we're on to 8C, planning for traffic impacts during construction. This would be page 44 to 61, number 8C. Mr. Fox, take it away. It's on page 44 of your packets.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn this one over here to Ms. Little briefly, but as I recall at our last meeting, Mr. Kraus had asked that this be on the agenda here today, and Ms. Little did provide me some materials to include in your packet, and I believe she wanted to speak to how DOT plans for traffic impacts during construction.
Absolutely. Just real quick, before we jump off tip things, do we have a status update on our tip amendment that's been sitting with federal highways? No, okay. I figured I asked various people like once a week. Okay. Yeah, great topic, Mr. Kraus, to bring up, to prove that, yes, we do have a process for this. We do have some requirements that we have to do. Obviously, we did have a project this year, that even with the best, planning, didn't materialize how we anticipated. And we can talk a little bit about that, but first, in your packet here, you'll see what we call, a construction instructional memo. That's what IM stands for, and Northern Region Design Directive. And so, the regional construction engineer can issue instructional memos to clarify internal processes. The regional construction engineer can issue design directives for the same purpose. But ultimately what this is, when we started doing a lot of road closures for some of these large urban projects in town, like University Avenue, there were some best practices doing things like that, such as traffic modeling to understand delays, to understand if the traffic system could handle it, if we needed to make adjustments to signal timings around town, to understand whether it was actually quicker to send people around a work zone or try and fit them through it, understanding that often we have to occupy the same space traffic is to get anything built. And so from all of that came this design directive that provides a standard list of things that we've got to look at before we do a road closure. And so for Chena Pump, the ramp closures constituted a road closure, and so this process was followed. And it addresses more than just project specific. The other thing that we have learned often the hard way is that these projects can interact with each other. You know, if we have a guards and a third street under construction at the same time, for example, we need to understand how one detour may affect another. May need to adjust our project planning. For example, when we resurfaced the Mitchell Expressway, we deliberately delayed University a year so that those two didn't have overlapping closures, because the detour for the Mitchell is University Avenue. So sitting down once a year and making sure that we're coordinated on those impacts. The other thing that we learned is sometimes we may be really coordinated as the department, but the city's got a project going too, or the borough's got a project going, and those things may have overlapping effects. So we have that annual meeting with those partners as well, to understand how the full traffic system impacts are going to work for each construction season. So those are sort of the high level programmatic things. On the project level, we have to go through this road closure matrix start. So some of this is just looking at, how much traffic are we diverting? Is that a tolerable amount of traffic to be impacting? Are we putting a Johansson Expressway type traffic on College Road, right? Those are functionally very different roads. We need to understand, putting traffic that's trying to get from point A to point B at 70 miles an hour onto a 35-mile-an-hour road may not be a good strategy. We'll look at the added travel distance. Look at a project like University Avenue when we shut down Bridge. It was a fairly good out of distance travel for a non-motorized, right? So in that project, we did include a separating pedestrian facility during construction, because that was not an acceptable amount to detour a person. To detour a car out around Pegger, really not that big a deal. In fact, the traffic modeling showed that if we had tried to keep you through there on restricted lane traffic, it would have taken longer to get through on University than to just go around the project. Impacts of freight movement. This is something, when you start looking at the Chena Pump Mitchell interchange, there's that ramp from the Parks Highway onto Geist Road. It's pretty heavy freight movement, and it's also can't stay in its lane, right? Those trucks are too big to go left turn lane to inside lane. They have to swing out and occupy. And so that affects the traffic control that we might be able to restrict under that bridge. And so things like turning radius, how much are we diverting? What impact does that have on traffic signal timing? Trucks take a little bit longer to get through an intersection. Transit is another big one. Understanding the transit routes, where the stops are. Aurora Drive was one when we did that bridge closure. That had to be very well coordinated with Max, because their buses wouldn't be able to follow the same route, and you can't get back through that network without that connection. And so they had to run a little different plan to make sure that service was maintained. So having that early coordination so we can all plan to the best of our abilities. Impacts to schools and school bus routes. One thing we've learned with school bus routes is if whatever you have is in place at the start of the school year, you're probably okay. But if you implement after school buses have started running, it's chaos, right? People need to be able to set their route, know how much time it takes, because those buses are not just serving one school, one grade. So we have those conversations as well. Understanding the cost savings, if we're going to impact the public and it's not really providing any value, just closing it because it's convenient, that's not a great thing either. And then, does closing it down allow us to get more things done at once than if we had to operate under traffic restrictions? And so we have just sort of a point scale for all of this. And this is sort of an initial screening and getting our project teams to think about all of these components. From there, they have to put together this memo that the regional pre-construction and construction engineer receive and kind of get a chance to weigh in on as well. We deliberately set this up so that there's no formal approval process, but you have to go through these steps and we all have to be on the same page before these closures can be put in the contract. And so, simple, why did we close it? What alternatives did we consider? We consider, single lane, flagger pilot car. What are the options to still be able to build it? And what's that impact to the project duration, the project cost, to worker safety? Business and local access impacts. Often where we're doing these closures are in our urban environment. How are people going to get to and from their businesses? Are special signage going to be required for businesses? We do have some flexibility, not a lot. You know, we can say like when we have the closure there on University, the Safeway mall complex, you know, we could, because that's a definer, like if it was the Teddy Bear Plaza, you know, we could say Teddy Bear Plaza access this way now under the new MUTCD, but we can't say, you know, Taylor's Golden Stones access. It's got to be a little bit more generic, but there are some opportunities there. Obviously identifying the detour route up front, understanding whether that's on state roads, if we're gonna need to use the local road network, we have to work with the road owner to make sure we have permission to do that. How our bikes and peds can be accommodated. They may be accommodated differently than the cars are, like we saw on the University Avenue project. The traffic impacts, you know, what is this gonna do to the road network that's being used as a detour? Do we need to do some things? For example, when we do the Cease Johansson reroute, we're gonna have to add a turn lane at the Old Cease intersection to accommodate that change in traffic. Knowing that up front, building that into the contract documents. How long are we gonna allow this closure to occur? Are we gonna do interim completion dates? Because those come with different financial penalties than just the traffic price adjustments. And then, you know, emergency response, freight, school, transit, how are these more sensitive groups going to navigate our closure? How are we gonna outreach? How are we gonna communicate these things? And then are there overlapping projects? This was a big one when we did the Third Street project. We had multiple, we had University Avenue, GARS and Third Street in construction at the same time in Wendell. And so we had to really spend some time thinking about what was tolerable in terms of the traffic network while that was going on. So all of those things get documented by the project manager and sent on up the chain and worked through on any project that has a closure associated with it. And then in addition, at the statewide level, we have chapter 14 of the Highway Pre-Construction Manual. And this outlines, you know, when we start getting into statewide standards, we're getting into federal compliance requirements. And so largely this is geared towards what is required by Code of Federal Regulations in terms of traffic control plans, what is considered a significant project by the federal standard, and what's required for significant versus non-significant projects. And so that is in addition to the regional requirements for closures that have to be incorporated. As a general rule, we have some things that you'll see pretty consistently in our projects. One of the things that we frequently do is limit how much road can be open at a given time. So for example, the Old Indiana Highway had, I believe, 3 or 5 mile limits. You've got to, you open that up, you've got to close it up before you can move on. Because detouring people on gravel, one, you know, it's messy. 2, if something goes wrong and you aren't able to get to closure that season, now all of a sudden you're dealing with a 10-mile problem instead of a 3-mile problem. So a lot of reasons there that we typically include those sorts of things on these longer jobs. We typically include things like no traffic restrictions here in the urban area during the morning commute. People are the least tolerant to delay and change at 7 o'clock in the morning, and that's fair. I am too. And so we'll often build those things into areas where we don't have full closures, where we are allowing lane restrictions. Let's say you gotta get out of the way if you can. Not every operation, you know, like when we're doing bridges, deep culverts, there's times where you're not gonna be able to button things up each night. But limiting when you can start putting lane restrictions on, we typically will limit you to outside the school zone windows. So like when we did Cal Street, they couldn't impact traffic while school was in session essentially, and that was in the contract up front. We did the Old Indiana Highway when there were special events there at Esther Park. We had requirements in the contract. They couldn't restrict traffic there around Esther Park. So that kind of just becomes for all when those events are happening, and wanted a contractor out of the way so that stuff could happen. So those are a lot of the considerations that go into our work zone analysis. That said, every year we learn new lessons, right? Every road is different. especially when you start getting into roads that have a mix of residential and business traffic, it can be a little bit trickier to get those windows of impact right. What we found here on the Chief Up Geis Road project is there's not a reliable, not busy time on those roads. You know, it's not like it's gridlock all day long either, but it can be really tricky to predict when you're gonna start seeing that lack of a through lane start backing things up. That analysis, when we originally envisioned that project, we envisioned keeping the signals on and having one lane restricted on each side. What wasn't accounted for there is with the curb and gutter environment, particularly under the bridge where it's really constrained, there was not enough room to maintain a lane of traffic and construction equipment and work. And so it had to go over onto the other prism, which now signals have to be turned off to make that work. Has to be flagged. Flaggers are not going to be as intuitive with delay as a traffic signal may be. And so, you know, all of those things in hindsight, you know, what we modeled was not what ultimately was implemented in the field for valid reasons. When you're in a construction situation like that, it was 2 weeks, right? That was all they had to get that phase of the project done was 2 weeks. When you're in a reactionary mode, it can be really challenging to manage those impacts. And so, you know, we had a couple days get away from us on that, but we were, as soon as we saw those impacts, we were working with the contractor to adjust the plans. Huge kudos to Mayor Hopkins' team. They worked with us on identifying borough roads signed for detours. And we, I mean, that was done in less than 24 hours. We were working through that stuff, which was huge. And so, you know, ultimately, we were able to get the work done. We recognized immediately, you know, I was getting emails while I was down in Anchorage and just happened to be out of town for a family member had to have some surgery. But anyway, you know, it was like, no, this is not acceptable and we're going to fix it. And that's exactly what we did. You know, and I think some lessons we learned from that, there's different levels of traffic analysis you can do. So there's some like spreadsheet type tools that you can use. And then there's full on software packages. The volumes and the amount of change we were doing there at Chenapump and Geis probably warranted the higher level software packages, probably some external expertise. Traffic engineering is a very niche specialty. There's a lot of rules of thumb, you know, standards and traffic behaviors are kind of constantly evolving and adjusting in how you use those models. At the time that we did the analysis, we did not have a quick and easy way to get that sort of expertise working on a project. We now have a statewide term agreement in place. So a project manager could easily say, hey, this is a little more than our spreadsheet tools. Let's go engage that expertise. So some things, you know, I think the other thing, I don't know that the project team fully appreciated how many businesses there are in that area. You know, it really is a mix. And obviously with our initial vision of the traffic plan with the keeping the lane on each side, access to that business complex there on the corner that has some sort of medical establishments, I think Dow and consulting firms in there. That looked a lot different under that approach than when we were in this reactionary mode of trying to keep traffic flowing on Chenapump while also still managing getting people in and out of those various places. So again, you saw a lot of impacts just from having to react to changing dynamics out there. So I've talked a lot. Pause and that digest. If there's questions.
You know, I do have some questions around kind of that's, you know, obviously prompted by members, people in the public reaching out. I live out there, you know, friends and neighbors on that specific project. And that was, you know, what prompted me to bring this up. But I think that there's the piece that I wanted to look at, you know, or I know I got things in the mail and folks did, but what is the sort of public outreach strategy on something that's going to impact, I mean, you know, a good 20% of the population of the borough is like out this road. And so you know, often, you know, kind of I see generic bids, there's like, oh, there's a public meeting requirement. Was there one for this? Were there public meetings held that I just missed? Or was that something that the project manager just decided to forego?
Yeah, so we kind of have a boilerplate spec on the public involvement piece where we require mailers, we require that they reach out to EMS and those transit those groups with their specific plans with timelines. I think honestly, another lesson we learned on this was the impacts of those ramp closures and the single lane on Chena Pump and Geist was sort of overshadowed by the larger closure and work there at Chena Small Tracks. We got a little tunnel visioned on that one, and sort of maybe missed the same level of engagement on this one. Part of it was that our analysis didn't necessarily show it was gonna be as impactful as it was, right? That was a surprise. But also, you know, Chena Small Tracks did have quite a bit more engagement on how this would go during construction and in the earlier, you know, in the project development stages where this was, oh, it's just a resurfacing project. What's the big deal? So that was part of it. I don't believe we necessarily had an open house requirement in this contract. And then obviously we started, when we were reacting, we were starting to do things quicker than our public notice requirements were allowed. It was like, well, we can't just keep backing the traffic up. We've gotta implement these changes to keep the traffic flowing, which meant there were some things that changed that I was like, you know, we did not give people the notice they need to do this. It's like, well, this is why we had to make this change because we were seeing this safety impact.
And, you know, it's one thing that I think fast planning does an extraordinary job of is working with the public and public education. And so like, I would just in the future encourage you to lean on the expertise of this office and this board that you're on. And, you know, to help kind of highlight some of these issues ahead of time, especially when it comes to helping educate the public. And so in process, you know, I know, so you're not even in town, and you're getting emails about like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Like, what is the right way for the public to engage with DOT about an ongoing project? Is it email the project manager, or are there other ways that, you know, people can feel like I'm doing this the right way and my voice is being heard? Because a lot of the time, you know, people they call up any state agency and start ranting. And, you know, I want to be able to give people a path to engage with you that feels constructive and is constructive for you as well.
Yeah, for the level of the magnitude of impact that was going on, reaching out to a regional director was absolutely appropriate. For a typical, you know, understanding the impacts, what's happening, or you know, you change something on me, I don't understand, the project manager, the construction project manager is the best starting point. I actually, my parents live out there, so I'm out there every day as well. And so of course, as soon as I hear what's happening, like, you gotta shut down Sheep Ridge. You can't keep those turn movements coming and expect this to unclog, you know. So we were able, a lot of us actually, DOT, have family out there regularly. And so I think that contributed to knowing what we could do to solve the problem much quicker. But in general, yes, the construction project manager is your first point of contact. Between them and the field representative, the project engineer, they're the ones directing the contractor's day-to-day work. And will have the most understanding of what's going on, and why, and when things might be changing.
Whoever your social media person deserves a raise. I don't know who they are, but
Yes.
Are the road closure matrix, is that posted at any point? Is that publicly available, or is that just an internal document?
That's an internal document to make sure that we have gone through the analysis and have incorporated whatever that analysis showed in the construction contract documents, which are the public facing piece.
There's a lot of sort of subjective information there, and so I worry about how that might play out, but I understand that, you know, you're just trying to get your bearings internally with that document.
Yeah, it's the contract is the piece that is the decisions were made, right? And so it's making sure that we've looked at these things and understand them and have incorporated whatever needs to be, whether it's time of day restrictions or making modifications elsewhere on the traffic network to make things work, that gets incorporated in the contract. contract. The contract is the final piece that says, you know, this is what's acceptable or not.
And then you mentioned this other curb and gutter issues, like issues with signals. And you spoke to this a little bit, and I think some of it just went over my head. Where is it that should be identified? So there's issues with the models, which is what a lot of the assumptions are based on for the planning of the whole thing. So once you realize your models are out of whack, your planning is out of whack, and all of your assumptions are now shaky. So what can you do to help ensure that your initial modeling is more correct? You mentioned moving from kind of an Excel sheet to some other, methods of gathering information. I'm curious about what that is.
Yeah, and so I think that's at sort of that regional construction, pre-construction engineer level to review that memo that they get and even below that level, right? At the project manager and their supervisor's level of really looking at it and going, is this the appropriate level of analysis for this type of road, for this type of impact? And based on the assumptions we had at the time, but it likely was. But when the signals got turned off, that changed the whole calculus. And that was where, at that point in a 2-week closure, you're reacting. You're not even gonna get a consultant on board to do a reanalysis in that kind of time window. You really do have to just watch the traffic, make some gut decisions and roll with it, which is what we did, and we were able to unstick some things. We had a few things later on as we got closer to reopening it that, some plans changed with the contractor schedule that created some delay, extra delay that fortunately was short-lived, but did kind of, it's like, oh, yeah, no, we can't be out there stopping traffic on Chenapum, right? That was sort of the rule of thumb, was you can't stop traffic on Chenapum. It's gotta flow or the whole thing stops up.
Maybe it's not just a store. Sorry. No, and like, just looking at how that rolled out, I'm sure there are ways that we could find improvements, but the work so far looks great, and I understand that it's trying to work on a pinch point like that.
Yeah.
A lot of West Fairbanks is fraught, so I appreciate your work, contractors' work out there. Just make that clear. But I've had a lot of folks reach out with like,
That's totally fair. Yeah.
how do I engage with DOT?
Constructively, yeah. Yeah, and some of it too was, now we're surprising people on Dartmouth, on Chena Ridge, and so then they're gonna try to find other ways out, and so now everybody's balled up in the Justice Store parking lot. What do? You gotta clear them, you're just sort of chasing that initial things didn't go as planned right up to the end.
Yeah, that's all I had. Other than, again, I would encourage you to, leverage the expertise that we have here, especially on the process of engaging with the public. I'm sure, we can talk project managers. The work that Corey does is incredible, getting people engaged and to talk about things that they didn't even know they were interested in.
Thanks for the rundown, Ms. Little, on this, and understanding that things changed. Why that impact grew so much more than was expected. I want to talk a little bit about one of the upcoming, I think it'd be a traffic diversion. In fact, I messaged you earlier, so I'll just jump on that with the Chenapum. Where is that? The roundabout, when it goes into Chena Small Tracks, there's the diversion. It's going to go around there. It's a fairly short one, and it hasn't gone in yet. It'll start, I think, I don't know, the next week or maybe the 27th or so. That week, I think, is when they're going to close the transfer site there as well, at Chena Small Tracks. So I was contacted by people on the ground, the construction workers out there, the foreman specifically, about concerns about the speed limit for that diversion. It's fairly short, it's a couple hundred feet. It's going to be going in at 35 miles an hour. For that small, narrow, complicated diversion. And I also talked when I was out there to the superintendent for the contractor, and then also heard the concerns about that speed were shared with all the different types of labor that's going to be on the ground. 35 miles an hour through that short period is going to be flagged at both ends. So it will be stopped one way as they go and then stopped the other way as they go. With 35 miles an hour through that short dirt, tight turn is, close proximity to workers is, rising a lot of concerns. And so I went out there, looked at it, talked to them. And the goal is to get that lowered, and I think they've been in contact with with you guys. I don't know who, but, I'm, in looking at as we were going through this, I was trying to, keep in mind what, how this, packet works with what's out there and information that I have absolutely no experience with whatsoever. But looking at like where it's continued communications between the design engineering manager, construction manager, and traffic control coordinator, and stakeholder input from those that are on the ground. I think it's really important that we do lower that speed limit there. I don't think it will increase the length of the work that'll be being done, but the safety improvements that those on the ground see are needed. I'm gonna ask you to, look into lowering that speed limit from 35 to 15 miles an hour. It's not an action item here. I think that the worker safety there is gonna be important. It's gonna be interested. They're concerned about, the technical term they use with looky-loos as they drive through, and people, we're looking at the workers. It's gonna be 24 hours a day. So people will be coming home late at night. I know that, you've got work zone speed limits based on, established practices that probably allow it to be at 35 for whatever those standards are. But the reality on the ground, I think, is really important that we lower that down, to 15 miles an hour for the time that it's gonna be open. And then, we received a letter from, the operators union, which was the foreman that I talked to, as well as, other people. But the superintendent, the contractor, and the labor were both equally concerned, about the safety there. So, within the powers that you guys have before it goes into effect, slowing that down from 35 miles an hour is something I'm gonna request, and is really important, I think, for the people doing the work there.
Sure, if I can add one thing, I wanted to point folks in the meeting to where some of these resources that Ms. Little we're talking about, the pre-construction manual. It's here, chapter 14, the highway work zone safety and traffic control plans, which were updated in September 2022.
And I'm sure you Googled something as simple as public, highway work zone safety.
Yep.
Cool.
Are these, if
Go for it, yeah.
I just wanted to ask, how frequently are these generally updated? There's a couple different sections in here that we reference, and I highlighted one of those.
Yeah.
Just wondering how often they get touched.
The main updates come when federal regs change, so like, actually, chapter 14 was kind of updated preemptively with the proposed rulemaking. But you'll see, chapter 4, 2023, there were some CFR changes, as well as some desire to modernize it. Highway capacity, hasn't been touched in a long time. It's a pretty short section that basically just references another standard. Highway design is a little bit more modern. That was another modernization effort. We had a lot of repetitive things. So this is something, when CFRs change, we absolutely do manual updates, but we have several chapters are non-motorized. Needs a hard look, both in the context of complete streets as well as just the general evolution of how we understand non-motorized facility design. There's been a lot of great resources come out since 2005 on the topic. So chapter 12 and chapter 14 are both ones that we want to update here in the coming year. Obviously, our standards engineer who managed these, Brandon Irvine, did move to the region to be a project manager. So until we're able to backfill and recruit, some of these things sit on the back burner, but we do issue these chapter updates as chief engineer's directives. There is a listserv that you can sign up to get notified of those things. I can't remember if the link is on there or not. I can look into that and send it to you. But that would be, let you know when things change for sure.
All right, any questions for Certificate Lozano?
No, but I would echo your comment to be, there's concern for worker safety there, and that's, the whole reason we're putting in a roundabout is because people have had to drive right up to the speed limit or over. And I think it'd be good to cap that. And I just replaced the windshield of my car. I don't need to do it again.
It's 45 miles on either side of it, so.
Yeah.
People will certainly accelerate quickly to get up to the 45 miles an hour over a short period, so. I'll pass on that request and thank you.
Yeah.
Ask you guys to go ahead and order that down if you're able to before it goes in. All right, any other questions or comments? That packet? Seeing none, thanks very much for that informational item. And with that, we're gonna move on to 9A, obligations and offsets. Grass, sorry, Mr. Fox.
Yeah, this begins on page 62. So this is just the monthly obligation offset report. This hasn't been updated since June 29th. But again, at that time, we were only at 25% obligations, which concerned me. And that's one of the reasons why I did the rounds with all the DOT project managers to see it like, make it or something slipping, and do we need to move it out? So that work's been done through administrative modification number 9. Anything that's going to slip schedule has been moved out. But I want to share a few things with you here. Page 65, this is our offset list. So applying the latest construction increase on Yankee Ridge Miller Hill, we still have an offset balance of about $150,000 left. But the last page of the packet, page 66, I went back and looked at our obligation reports for the past 10 years or so. Go to the last page of the packet, please. Yeah, right, that little table, yep. To look at, so this time of year, like the end of June, early July, where were we on percent obligated for our federal funds? And you can see the current year in 2026, we're only at 25%, but that historically, that's not been the pattern. Usually we have about 3/4 of our funding obligated by the end of June, early July. And we discussed this somewhat at length with our technical committee, and kind of what I glean out of this is a little bit of a shift in when projects are getting bid here recently. So for example, this year, there's a lot of projects going out to bid, midsummer or the fall, as opposed to in the springtime or over the course of early winter. So there are some big slugs of obligations that are going to push through, and it's going to get it up to these numbers. But it's just kind of a delay in that bidding process, getting stuff out the door. That's getting us down to only a 25% level. So anyways, that's, I guess, the easiest way for me to explain it, but I have much higher confidence now after visiting with each of the project managers that these obligations will actually occur. So we'll just continue to watch this and cross my fingers that everything else stays on schedule and gets out to bid. So because I'd really not like to be in a situation where some of our federal funds aren't obligated by federal fiscal year end, and then we have to ask for them to be banked or carried forward into the next year. That's a step that's always available to us, but there's not really a good process to do that. Banking funds is not really a thing, but we do it. So in any event, I'm keeping tabs on this as close as I can. And I think I have a understanding of why we're at where we're at. We're doing the best we can in the tip administrative modifications to make sure we try to hit 100%. So, yeah.
John, I could talk. So one of the big obligations is the fast improvement program worth $3 million or so or more. But that's waiting on that tip amendment. So if there's any way to encourage anyone to get done? And I think I was asked about earlier in this meeting.
And yeah, we asked Federal Highway directly when they were here for a statewide MPO quarterly meeting.
So there would be no way to, that will slip if the amendment doesn't go through.
I'll call them again today.
Okay.
For another, ask the same question. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that?
As far as the project bidding timeline, are there like capacity issues that you're experiencing at DOT? I know that, people change out. I don't know if this is staffing issue or just, open positions, other projects around the state. Is that playing into this as well, or?
No, I think the two biggest things that we've been facing, have been the, staffing situation at the division office. We had a period where project development authorizations were taking, months, and it could be weeks in years past. So that's a big component of it. The other component has been, some changes in expectations around environmental reevaluations. They, you have to do a reeval for certain ATP authority proceed levels, but other ones, weren't, or, requests within an existing ATP didn't always require a reeval, and now FHWA is wanting us to do those more frequently, just to make sure things are getting looked at regularly. We have a little difference of opinion there. You know, it's not necessarily a federal requirement, but it's a comfort level thing. And so those have been kind of catching us by surprise, and anytime you're caught by surprise, it ends up taking a lot longer than you expect. So I think those are the two biggest things. I think for our region, actually, we have one of the most stable and mature group of project management teams. I don't think we have a single project manager there, except Brandon, of course, is new in his role. But 5+ years of experience is pretty standard for our project in that project management role. Have pretty stable teams underneath them as well. So on the whole, our region, staffing wise, I think is in really good shape, both in terms of numbers and experience. But we've had those things outside your control that kind of sneak up on you. The other thing, core permit timelines have just been unbelievable.
It's Army Corps.
Yeah, that's another one that's been eating our lunch lately. Probably less so for fast projects. We're dealing with that on some known projects. That's another one that's it's really used to be a very quick, seamless process, and then again, staffing changes, and experience changes, and federal law changes, and Supreme Court decisions, and all that stuff comes to a head, and all of a sudden it's taking over a year to get a simple, you know, what we would consider a simple individual permit. It's only individual just, you know, because of the acreage, but it's not like it's, you know, pristine wetlands, ditches, and so.
I'm sure they're pristine ditches.
Yeah, pristine ditches, yeah.
So the staffing issues, if there are staffing issues there at the division office, but the environmental reevaluations, I've not, right? So is that work done by specialized personnel here in the region, or is that somebody in the division office?
That is all, State of Alaska has full NEPA assignments, so
Okay.
we are the federal agency. So it is all regional and statewide staff that prepare and approve those documents. There's no role for federal highways except a couple elements. There's a Coast Guard permitting process that's essentially a federal agency to federal agency agreement in law. So federal highways can do those things, and they're rare. And then if a tribal entity opts to go government to government in terms of their Section 106 consultation, then only federal highways can be federal agency for government to government under the current agreements. Again, those are rare. They're getting a little less rare. Those are certainly not impacting fast planning projects.
Thanks.
Thank you. For 10, any other issues? All right, seeing none, on to number 11, policy member board comments. Anything from anybody? Mr. Mayor Church?
If I may, I'd like to thank Corey, Girls Who Weld, and Instructor Daily for that program and kicking those out around the North Pole area. I'm glad to see one here as the showpiece. It's pretty exceptional, the work that they've done to bring that out. I would also like to thank Gabby Larry for coming and talking about her concerns with College Road. And thank you, Mayor Hopkins, for bringing up the speed reduction down on Chena Pump. I don't know if 15 is appropriate, but certainly bringing that down from 35, very much needed. To keep our folks safe. So thank you for that.
Appreciate that, Mayor Church. A couple for me, we worked on some road service area legislation as a legislative priority, that the assembly passed, that miraculously made it through, and the 75% of bills that did not get vetoed. So that hopefully will allow us some more flexibility to get, neighborhoods service, who want to tax themselves and get that service. That's been one of our biggest obstacles right now in getting better maintenance on, the Orchid roads. It's been difficult to get those service areas, the access, or into current existing service areas. So this legislation very specifically is only for new, and allows us to make new service areas easier than it used to. So no existing ones will be directly impacted unless maybe they neglect themselves. So we'll be rolling out an ordinance in the next, long time, probably 6+ months, but we'll be working on it. I was gonna bring up maintenance on Chena Hot Springs Road. I've gotten a couple emails about it. Sounds like it's been really bad out there, but thank you to DOT for getting back to them yesterday. Ron Davis emailed them yesterday afternoon, so thank you for that. And said you guys have spent more time on that than the other 130 state maintained roads in the Fairbanks area, so I believe it. Some of these roads deteriorate real fast in very complicated ways, so thank you. The other one was the Esther Dome, mostly the St. Patrick's Road. I've received, had a number of conversations about the new mining trucks that are going on development out there, specifically on St. Patrick's Road. It's a hairpin after hairpin turn, not technically hairpins, but very sharp blind turns. And the community out there is trying to get that speed reduced as well. I think they've been in touch with maybe you, Ms. Little, or some other people about what a petition looks like to lower that, but they have a lot of concerns about the speed that potential work on a lodge out there would do to the road for trucks driving faster than what is recommended and what the community feels, and then the mining exploration trucks and potential expansion of some of the mines out there too. So urge you to listen to them and look at lowering that and take that seriously, and not just a recommended speed limit reduction, but the actual posted speed limit reduction for the entire area for St. Patrick's Road is the one that I've been hearing about. So happy to provide some more information. If you guys have it, I'll have them make sure those conversations are going, but ask you to take due diligence and listen to them as well, as they have concerns about the safety of their roads, because a lot of people bike and walk their dogs and ride horses on that road, and it's hard when you got big trucks driving that aren't necessarily familiar or live in the area. So thank you for that. Thank you, everybody, and
Mayor O'Neill
Mayor O'Neill did not come back on yet.
Okay.
Mr. Zarnecki, you got anything you want to share?
Had to find my mute button there. No additional comments from me. Thanks to everybody for joining in today.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
And Mayor Hopkins, we did get a request for some traffic numbers and such out there. So I think our traffic data team was going out to do some data collection associated with that. So we have the St. Patrick stuff on our radar for sure.
Great, thanks. I'm sure they'll reach back out to me because they've been having a lot of issues out on that road and a lot of different things crossing their path. So I'll probably be hearing from them again. So thank you. All right, with that, let's adjourn. Thanks, everybody. Is that the last one?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
1:40 p.m.
1:40 p.m.
Pretty quick signatures.